Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Scorpio. If Scorpio is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, let's get started. And so, Scorpio, we have the High Priestess. A most welcome energy. Okay, and let's take a look and see what these tea leaves have to show us. And so if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit that little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. It is free to subscribe. And also, if you'd like to hit the like button, I would appreciate you so much. And also, if you want to leave a comment, please do. Especially if you're new to the channel, shout it out in the comment section. All right, so Scorpio, again, we have that Taurus energy. What is up with you and the Tauruses lately? They are just in every reading. So we have this Taurus energy. This one has a person riding upon its back. So it does feel very much like there is a sense of really kind of getting a control over this fiery energy, right? This kind of anger. I think it's the anger. That's what the bull usually makes me think of. Angry. I'm gonna get you know. But I feel like it is maybe the anger of the father. This is what it feels like an ancient frustration, anger, misplaced treatments, I think. Kind of maybe being blamed for the father's whatever shortcomings or being dissatisfied. Maybe a sense of feeling like not enough. Dad's always gone. Dad doesn't pay attention to me. Dad doesn't care about me. He left, or he, is not around enough. He's not, close with mom, or they're always fighting, or he's stepping out, or has a new family, or whatever it is, right? And this anger, this frustration, this masculine, and now let me just be clear, anger is not a masculine quality, of course, but this is a masculine anger. And as this really flows through your life, I mean, it still does. If you could think of your being as a map, right? This is a river that runs close to the heart. This is one of those foundational things. And you have been altered by this anger. This anger is alive in you. And there are times when it comes so close to the surface, it becomes so overwhelming and almost like you could drown in it, right? It just, you see red, right? As the bull charges towards the red. You see red, and I feel like there's really this moment in your life here where maybe something has happened. Maybe there's been some huge blowout or, you know, some kind of reaction, or maybe you are in a relationship that is quite reactive, volatile, whatever it is. And you see there's a moment, there's a clarity here. I don't like this. I don't want to feel like this. This is, you know, I'm playing out an old behavior. Now, this is my belief, okay? Let me just say this. And this is only my opinion, my humble, unknowing, confused, and often a mess of a being opinion, right, about life, is that, you know, we think of like a family curse, right? We've had tragedy in the family. Things are always going wrong. We're always struggling, you know, whatever it is. And there must be a family curse. Now, I don't know. I am a believer in magic and I'm superstitious. So maybe there are these kinds of curses from external sources. I don't know. But what I do believe are the true curses of our bloodlines are things like maladapted coping mechanisms, abuses, these things, anger, addiction, avoidance, you know, the inability to apply ourselves or stay motivated, or, you know, whatever it is. And these are things that are learned. These are things that are kind of, you know, maybe even written into our genetics. I've read things about anger and stress, you know, the cortisol that we produce when we are in these states, especially if you've been through childhood situations that caused a lot of stress or fear or anger or whatever. Then from a young age, you were flooded with these hormones and or chemicals. I don't know. Is cortisol a hormone or a chemical? I'm not sure. I'm not a doctor. Let me just tell you, you might have been fooled, but I'm not a doctor. Not a doctor, not a psychologist, nothing professional, really, actually. But yes, and so we're flooded with it from an early age or at some point in our life, right? And it begins and it continues, and it I believe, probably, right, from what I've read on the internet, anyways, yeah, it probably alters the genetics and what we pass on, right? And so, yeah, I do. We build bloodlines of people who are prone to anger, to depression, stress, whatever. Now, this isn't to make you feel bad if you experience these things. I definitely have, and I do. I'm even diagnosed with, like, you know, CPTSD and anxiety and depression and, you know, whatever. So I have the fear of passing this on, and was why I had not planned on having children, although I have a child who is a miracle and she's wonderful. But yeah, it's not to make you feel bad or think, I can't pass these things on, but it might be part of an answer of why do we live out our parents' loop, right? Why do they live out their parents? And why do we continue these things one generation to the next? Why do we carry the fear? Why do we carry the anger? Why? I don't know. But then there are moments where there's clarity. And this curse, it must be broken. This generational trauma must be stopped. And this is the work. This is that getting on top of that bull. Riding the dang thing. Mastering these parts of ourselves that can be so very volatile, out of control. Is it easy? No, it is not. That's why they continue down through families, because the work is difficult. It fights right up against that ego. And it's painful to look at. It's painful to admit. It's painful to let go of these things, because listen, our anger, although it can be destructive and inconvenient, and it can keep us very much apart from others and from being able to kind of navigate through our lives, it serves a purpose, and that purpose is to protect ourselves. But it's not always necessary. It's not often useful. But letting it go is like giving your armor away, right? Taking off those protective layers and putting them on the ground. That's scary, to be vulnerable like that. But I see you. I see you, Scorpio. I see you realizing that this is a place where you're done walking this path here. You're done getting angry. You're done getting wild. You're done losing it. You're done having to say sorry all the time. You're done having to feel guilty. Done hurting yourself and hurting other people. It's so much. It's so much. And I say this as a very angry person. I am. I've been hurt a lot. And I have hurt other people, especially with my words. Sometimes with my actions. And I will tell you what, it still comes up all the time. And I still really have to grab myself and think, what am I doing? Is this worth it? Is this the right reaction for me? And I will tell you, I have never regretted pulling myself back from just fully unleashing on somebody. I've definitely regretted snapping. Right? Saying things I don't mean, or things that I do mean, but I shouldn't say. Yeah, I regret that. I lay awake at night sometimes thinking about things that I said 20 years ago. You know? But I've never regretted saying, hold it, Lenor. Reel it in. You don't need to tell the lady that just cut you off what you think of her, right? You don't need to do it. Absolutely not. Okay, so here's the other thing. We have these dogs. I have dogs roaming around here. Here's another one. Where are you? Here's one right here. Okay, so I feel that, yeah, we're really in this kind of night side place. And what does that mean? I think that you're in a place of really feeling kind of murky, a place of feeling like I want to kind of find, some source of light. I feel like I'm lost a little bit. I'm maybe kind of in this a little bit of a surreal place in my life where things just are confusing. I'm not really sure which way I want to turn, but at the very core of things, I know that there is self-work I want to do, self-work that needs to be done. That there is a massive shift in your desire to exist in some kind of capacity, right? And what does that mean, really? I feel like it's kind of like you're going through one of those periods of time in life where, yeah, you're reevaluating. And not even so much about the circumstances or your variables, the dynamic of your life. I mean, that's part of it, of course. But I think a lot of it is so much about, like, how am I going to exist within the world that I've built for myself? Because I can change things all day long, right? I can have a different wife, a different husband. I could have, a different family. I can go out in the world, start a different family, go to live in a different city. I could, change my hair color to red, or, paint my fingernails blue, or, whatever it is. All these different things that we can change. At the core of it, though, whatever it is, it follows us. It goes with us everywhere. It is of us, right? And so if I leave my home because I feel angry here, I don't like my neighbors, I don't like the layout of this house, the light isn't right, I'm always angry when I'm in here. I know that if I lived next to the ocean, or whatever, whatever it is, I would feel so free. It would be so healing to me. All of my problems, they would be gone if I could just get there. And yeah, and maybe you accomplish that and you get there and it's good for a while. And then that sneaking thing starts to emerge once again. The anger shows back up. The resentment shows back up. The feeling like you are misaligned with your world. There's just, and this is the thing I keep thinking about, there's just a sense of discomfort that you're going through. Almost like you are uncomfortable in your own body. And it's not anything about your body, and it's not about your identity, but it's about just not feeling like you're in the right place or existence. And I think what it has to do with is being focused on the exterior things so often and not committing to working on the interior processes. Now, this might be emotional. It could be something that, you need to possibly, I'm not going to say you need to, but you might have the inclination towards, going to therapy, counseling, finding, somebody like a analyst, right? Something like this, psychotherapy, or finding maybe a religious community, finding a holy person, a counselor, right? Through your religion, your whatever kind of system that you're involved in. It doesn't have to be one of the Abrahamic or anything, but it could be, that you're like in a grade system or you're initiated into something and you're looking for, some kind of guidance, right? And that can be helpful. I think a lot of this has to do with coping. To me, it's a lot. I really get the feeling this is in the realm of like coping mechanisms with how you perceive the world and perceive yourself within the world, right? And that is a tricky one because it's in all of the circles, right? It's in that physical realm, your actual manifest being. It's in the realm of spirit, right? Your kind of your spiritual existence and the meaning of that and your place in this cosmos and all, you know, the existential implications there, but also the emotional, which is so much about not only the impact of the physical body and those processes, but kind of, you know, your how you process the world, right? And how that kind of manifests in these emotional emanations, which is really, this is so complex. But I think that it's important for you not to avoid it, because it seems like a mountain. And if you are somebody who is interested in something maybe like spiritual alchemy, within the symbolism, that is the mountain. It is the holy mountain, right? To better align oneself, to begin those processes of summiting, right? Getting up to that peak. And it is our lives, our existence, our being is so much about the continued evolution, right? And so if you know anything about alchemy, you know, I think so often we think about growing and evolving as a being as like a plant, right? Where you're trying to get to that peak place where you are blooming and flourishing and beautiful and bearing fruit and all this kind of thing. But the reality is, it's so much also about the decay, about the dissolution, the transference into other things, into recombining and reorganizing and regrowing, and you know, the cycles of things being transmuted, right? And this happens within our life. It continues to happen. And we know it in plain speak as just kind of being in different periods of our life, different seasons of our life, playing out different roles, right? And so I see you in this place of opening, becoming more vulnerable, of allowing yourself to be in a state of maybe even weakness at moments. And that can be very scary, and especially can provoke anger, avoidance. I don't know about you, and I mentioned this just earlier here. I have CPTSD, so I am, when I'm in the moments where I'm having like a real episode or flare-ups, I will get very jumpy about things. I will be startled easily if I don't hear you, like kind of walking up, or you get close to me and you say something and I get scared. You know, my poor husband, shout out to my husband over at Dove and Serpent Tarot, a most wonderful and lovely person, human being. His name is Paul, and he's very talented. Go check out his readings. You know, poor Paul. He is pretty quiet. He moves around pretty quietly, and I've gotten more used to it, but when I'm in those heightened moments of PTSD symptoms, I will get very startled. And when that happens, I do go to an anger, right? Or protecting myself. I get a lot of comments on here about how nice I am, how calm I seem, how, grounded and all that. It's taken a lot of work, because I'll tell you what, I am a fighter. And I don't just mean with my words, and I will protect myself. And so, I do. If I get startled, I go into a place of anger and wanting to, yeah, protect myself. And so when I see this and I'm thinking, yeah, you're in a place that's vulnerable, that stinger of yours is at the ready because it's hard. It's hard to open up. It's hard. Now, with the dogs all over, I'm thinking of, if you've ever heard of, what are they called? Hellhounds? Or they're these, oh, what are they called? I think they're hellhounds. It's not so much within the realm of spirituality, but more of like cryptids or supernatural things, high strangeness. And these are dogs that people witness, and they usually are like black, and they're have red eyes, you know, and they run through the night. People see them when they're walking or they're in their yards or, you know, whatever. And there's something very supernatural about them. It's not to be confused with like a wild animal. That's kind of scary. My acquired dad recently encountered a bobcat in the evening time in his backyard, and he said that it sounded like the scariest thing that he'd ever, you know, it was like hiding behind his shed and just screeched at him, and he was freaked out. Not exactly a situation like that, but yes, kind of these supernatural events, that phenomenon that people kind of report and stuff. So now, to me, the symbolism of these dogs kind of roaming around, just in the peripheral, right? But you know they're there, and you know that there's more than one of them. I feel like this is kind of you getting into that heightened state of what's going on. Right? I'm feeling this attraction to evolving myself, to shedding myself of these responses I have, this inclination towards being angry, being on the offensive or defensive either, but to an extreme, right? And I'm trying to work on lessening this, and I'm trying to kind of shed some of these things so I can maybe have at least a little moment where I'm a little more mindful and thoughtful about how I react. And as I am shedding this and I'm becoming more open and exposed, now I start to feel like the dogs are surrounding. Right? It's getting darker, the sun's going down, and these dogs start to show up. And I'm getting into this place of fear again, this place of needing to protect myself, to lash out. And here we are. This is where you're making a decision. You're going to grab onto yourself, right? You're going to control. How are you going to do that? I don't know, right? There's a lot of different methods. Looking into mindfulness, even looking into the DBT modalities, right? It's dialectical behavioral therapy, very useful. Even if you are not diagnosed with anything like, you know, I don't know, they use it for a lot of stuff now, but originally it was a lot to do with like borderline and other kind of personality disorders. You don't need to have these things to use these tools, right? But also things like breath work, right? Focus. If you're like me, I like to use active imagination to play out scenarios in my mind. How can I defuse myself before I get into that heightened state? So I'm going to play out some scenarios, not to kind of trigger myself, but so that I can have kind of more muscle memory. If this happens, how am I going to react to it? And I'm going to think it over and I'm going to play it through in my mind so that I have some reference, right? And so I see you really kind of in this almost, you know, like you're reading like self-help books, you're listening to lectures, you're, you know, practicing these different kinds of calming or communication skills or whatever it is. And I think that this is a wonderful time. Be kind to yourself. That's the biggest thing. Where you have missteps, where those little moments come up and you think, I'm just going to say it. You know, I'm just going to go in on this person. I'm just going to let it go, right? I'm going to let it rip. And maybe it happens a little bit, but you catch yourself and you think that's not cool. That's not nice. We don't treat people that way. I don't need to go this far. I don't need to even begin with this. You know what? I'm just going to disengage altogether. And what do? You congratulate yourself because it's not easy to get to that point where you can even stop yourself and say, yo, that's not cool. Stop it. You know, this is me talking to myself, Lenor. Be nice. Lenor. Chill out. It's all good. So I think that, you know, this is a most worthy cycle of work for you. Yeah, it's important. It's going to end up being more and more important, I think, as you get deeper into it. Okay. Now, let's go ahead. I'm going to take a look over here. And it looks like we have a snake, we have a dove. We have dove and serpent over here. No, but we have peace. Okay, we have a sense of peace rising. Now we have a person standing up here. We have another heart down, or not another. We have a heart down here. We have another person down here. And I think ultimately, listen, I don't think this is your driving reason for doing this work at all. It is for self, right? This is for you. But I do think that ultimately, one of the outcomes, right, of this work is your ability to connect more deeply, at least with one person, but probably everyone in your life, right? The ability to have productive conversations, the ability to open yourself up and to be vulnerable with somebody else in your life who, yeah, you love. You're connected to them. And I think this really deepens your relationship, okay? Now listen, I'm not going to say every Scorpio everywhere is super prideful and you really are a lot about keeping an image, not only for other people, but for yourself, right? You like to have this like put together kind of persona image of yourself. And through this work, it's like you're opening up little windows and doors in yourself, you know, to let some of that very kind of precise and rigid image that you have created, letting that slip just a little bit. Now, I'm not saying that you have, it's for the outside world, for, you know, whoever, the common person out there. Yeah, if that's what you want to present to people, definitely be about it. But within your own home, within your own family, your very close friendships, in these sacred spaces, learning to let go of some of that and to just be whatever you are, if that is, you know, messy and silly or wrong sometimes, or, you whatever it is. I mean, the many things that we are, It does. It allows you to connect more deeply, right? Because I know that this person, these people in your life, they love you for who you are, right? They love you beyond all of the things that we collect as our identity. They love you for your authentic being. And this ultimately is about that self journey to learning to embrace our authentic being, our true will. Okay? And that's all about, listen, this is the high priestess energy. This is what she's here for, right? That's what she's here for. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to take a look at our self-care affirmation cards. And I'm just going to stop where it feels right. We're going to flip it over. It says, purity of awareness. I am present. My senses are a gift that ground me in this moment. I notice the beauty around me and pay attention to the small details of my life, of my day. I am mindful. I am mindful. Yes. All right. Scorpio, I'm going to go ahead and tell you I love you because I do. And I thank you so much for spending this time with me. It is always such an honor to be able to bring these messages to you. And if you would be so kind as to like the video, it really does help the channel. And if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit that little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. It is free to subscribe. And if you want to leave a comment, please do. I'd love to hear from you, especially if you're new to the channel. Definitely shout it out. All right. Scorpio, I love you, I love you, I love you. We'll talk in a few days.